Hello everybody, Andy here from the #1 YouTube channel in the world. Don't Google that, thank you. So in the past few videos, I'm literally just going to read the article to you, but today I'm actually coming live to you from Spain. And as we all know, Spain, I'm in Menorca? I don't know, Spain. And the Spanish players, they're so passionate for Kill Team that I'm going to infuse my content with a bit of that passion. And what I mean by that is I'm going to not read the whole article, and I'm just going to read the bits that are actually useful to you. Because if that isn't passion, I don't know what is. Right, let's go on. I don't know what I'm saying, guys. Long story short, I've been a little bit delayed because I was flying to Spain. And so I'm quite late to this. So you've probably already seen it, but it's the elves. I meme that elves suck, but the truth is elves are awesome. And certainly, if we look at any of the elves that GW has done, firstly, they're elves. They're not Eldar. They're not Aeldari. They're just elves in space. It's fine. But they're just better than the dwarves. Look. If we were talking fantasy, if we were talking old world, even if we were talking Sigmar, there's a debate to be had. But in 40k, mate, what are those Votan, Maybe the upcoming novel will change that, but as it stands, cringe. Okay? Right, so let's scroll down. The only thing of note that we're not about to read is they do the asterisk right at the bottom. Let's go read it because it's worth reading. The Void Dancer Troop will also have free online rules for the new edition. That means two things. Firstly, we're not going to see anything for the Void Dancers here. Secondly, and hey, if you've been following along with me, we know that we're getting free online rules. And we know that the Void Dancers have been confirmed as coming all over us, if you will. Good. Yes. Shout it out. You never know when it is going to be somebody's first article that they read. There are going to be 40k players who are like, oh, I'm just an Eldari guy. That's all I care about. And so I know that ages ago I picked up the Corsairs, they're elves. Oh, this is the elf article. I'm going to read it. And this would be the first time they've seen it. So that's awesome. Right, let's go over this. So whenever these are for the Corsairs, obviously, whenever a friendly Corsair Void Scarred operative is shooting with a Shuriken rifle or Ranger long rifle during an activation in which it hasn't performed the charge, fallback, or reposition action, that weapon has the accurate 1 weapon rule. Note that that operative isn't restricted from performing those actions after shooting. Accurate 1 means you get to retain a hit. I love accurate. We've seen accurate 1 and accurate 2. Well, technically, if you've seen the leaks, you've seen everything. But accurate is a very cool rule. I much prefer it to rerolls. It's just sleeker and smoother, just like elves are. I do like a slick elf, can't lie. We then get Eldari Raiders. Each friendly Corsair Void Guard operative can perform a free dash action during their activation. So that's what they already had. So they've just kept that. Free actions still work the same way. Hey, if you're new here, free actions. This is the hottest tip you can get. We all love a hot tip, okay? It is free from the payment. It is free of cost, not free of restriction. Therefore, you cannot dash. This might sound obvious if you say, oh, well, I can't dash twice. Cool. But there are many times, there are many things that will come up in the game where you will be given a free action. It is only ever free of cost, never free of restriction. Keep that in mind. Right, and they're going to get Runes of Guidance and Opportunistic Fighters. Once per turning point, when a friendly Corsair Void Guard Wayseeker or Soul Weaver operative is performing a psychic unique action, excluding Warpfold, you can use this rule. If you do, until the end of that action, add 3 inch to its distance requirement. Note, this has no effect on psychic weapons, e.g. the devastating distance requirement of Lightning Strike. So that's presumably going to be what? So that's a piece of equipment you can take. It only affects 2 of your guys. From what we've seen of equipment so far, that almost seems like a little bit not good. But okay, cool, that's fine. Obviously, we don't know exactly what those things are just yet, but we're probably going to find out. I assume it's their medic ability. Let's find out. Opportunistic Fighters. Use this firefight ploy when an enemy operative performs the fallback action. Before it moves, inflict 2d3 damage on that operative for each friendly Corsair Void Guard operative within its control range. Ooh, hold up. That sounds really good. Have they always had this? Use this firefight when an enemy operative performs the fallback. Before it moves, inflict 2d3 for each friendly Corsair. That is... Ooh. That's tasty. So obviously, most often, this is going to be you hit one guy for 2d3. So let's be clear, 2d3 averages 4, that's still really good. But if you line that up, you can get 2. There are going to be multiple times where you can charge in, like, last thing you do in a turn, and if you get initiative, you're taking it, and you are falling back, and you are smashing face. And you might even get 3 guys. That's big. I'm just going to say it, that's big. Woo! I need to hydrate after reading that. Damn. That's fun. That's fun. Say one thing for elves. Say they are smooth and tricksy. Oh, you know what? Talking about being from Spain and infusing my content with passion, maybe this is where the passion is. It's not in the joke of me just skipping everything and not reading the article and just reading the actual rules. Maybe it's that I love elves. I have a passion for ladyboys, maybe. Void Scarred Soul Weaver, APL 2, move 7, stay 4, 8 wounds. So, elves seem to, and we'll see this on all of the other data sheets, have changed to move 7 inches. That's great. And of course, it has to be said, you know me, I love shapes. Big fan. Love geometry. Love the algebra and subtraction. All great, all great. Love the maths. Love maths. Great, great stuff. But now that we have moved away from that, we are obviously allowed to see a little bit more delineation between levels of elite soldiery. So this is good. I do like to see this. I can't lie. Although, I will say, as we have seen, the kill team has to be balanced, where if you have 10 models, you cannot be 7 wounds. Multiple times in the last edition, we saw a 10 model team, for example, Kassakin, come out, Exaction Squad as well, come out, and they were 7 wounds. It just didn't work. Step 1, first thing GW did was buff them to 8 wounds, and we see that again. So, Shuriken pistols, 8-inch range, rending. Rending is still just if you roll a crit, retain another normal as a crit. Otherwise, it's a bolter, but range 8. I feel like I need to do an entire video on the change of pistols to range 8 compared to range 6. Yeah, it's a thing. Okay, anyway. Right, power weapons. They are tasty still. 4 dice hitting on 3s, 4, 6, lethal 5. That's a solid thing. That's a marine killer. Love to see it. The only negative is, of course, 4 attacks. Chapesses, chapai, you tell me. We have all rolled 4 dice and rolled no hits, okay? We've all been there. When you're looking to be a melee specialist, you're looking for those 5 dice, or you're looking for easy rerolls. Or accurate retains, right? Anyway, Soul Channel. Psychic, select one other friendly Corsair operative visible to and within 6 inches of this operative until the end of that operative's next activation. Add 1 to your comms. Lovely. Psychic, Soul Heal. Heal 2d3. Cool. All right. We don't need to read it. And, you know, just throwing it out there. Still on a 28mm base. We go to the Blades of Khaine. So this is going to be an interesting one. So for the Blades of Khaine, of course, nobody has seen their stats before, apart from in this article. So we can't really say, you know, how are they going to differentiate them? When the Blades of Khaine dropped, the initial reaction, I remember it like it was yesterday. Everybody said, why would I play these when they are just worse Void Dancers? And then Void Dancers got nerfed. So maybe that's why we play these now. Obviously, we don't know what the Void Dancers are going to do, but maybe that was, Void Dancers were too good, so there you go. Fine. So let's see if it's still the same. I believe from what we've seen so far, it looks kind of like the last, so this last edition, this last season in Beta Decima, the teams we've seen are kind of relatively unchanged. And we're going to see that here because we get to see the striking scorpion. Who are they? Blades of Khaine and the mandrakes. And they, from what I read before I started recording this, they look very, very identical. Right. So you still have your aspect techniques. Can't use more than one aspect technique per activation or counteraction. Oh, so that means you can use an aspect technique when you counteract, which is interesting because a counteract isn't an activation. Like specifically in the core rules, because if you've read the leaks, you've seen it, it says counteract is not an activation. But so it's going to say that we can use an aspect technique. Fine, whatever, dude, cool. You cannot use each aspect technique more than once per turning point. Nice. But then the next bullet point, I'm going to guess before I read it, is going to say, but you can if you're only one aspect, right? Very friendly aspect keyword. You cannot use each aspect technique more than twice. Yep, you can. Cool. Right. God, it's like I know the rules. It's crazy. So you have, for the striking scorpions, merciless strikes. Use this aspect technique when a friendly striking scorpion operative is fighting. Also note, again, we've learned a few more rules thanks to Reddit. So fighting now is a nice shorthand way. If you recall, it used to be a case of if you have made the fight action. Now they can just say fighting because they've made a difference between fighting and retaliating. Cool. So if it says if you are fighting, that means if you have performed the fight action, because then you're fighting. If someone performs the fight action against you, you are retaliating. The first time you strike with critical success during that sequence, until the end of that sequence, that operative's melee weapon has the shock weapon rule. Shock, we've already seen, of course, is that, oh, it says here, that's good, because I was going to have to remember that off the top of my dome. The first crit success in attack sequence forces your opponent to discard an unresolved success. So this is the old stun, now it's called shock. You hit with a crit, they have to discard a success. Lovely. That's very good. So if we recall, Blades of Khaine, their kind of weird thing is that they're very questionable in melee, but if you roll a crit, you just kind of sweep the enemy because yeah. Anyway, Scream that steals. Banshee. If you're fighting or retaliating, at the start of the resolve attack dice step, you can resolve one of your successes before the normal order. If you do, that success must be used to block. So that's cool. So note here that again, if you're not familiar with Blades of Khaine, this is exactly the same. This is whether you're fighting. If you're fighting, that means you get to strike or block first, right? Well, this is saying before that, you still have to use one of your dice, but you just get to block, just block. This does change combat hugely. If you've got those 4 hits, so you can actually push through multiple blocks, you can easily take 0 damage in a fight because of this, because you get to block 2. It's very good. But they have thought it through, because if you're thinking about, oh, how could I layer things, you would love to take that and merciless strike, so you're getting shock on that crit, so you'd actually be able to parry out like a melee specialist, but you can't do that, which in a way is good. They've thought about it and they've said, no, that would obviously be broken, but in a way, if you're thinking about other games, and therefore I shouldn't be saying any of this, because that's not what this game is, but like, it would be kind of fun if you could, list build, and you could build those combos, Death of 1,000 Blades. Sorry, we call it an engine, okay? We could build that engine, oh, it hurts my heart. I'm missing Kill Team 18. Kill me. Use this aspect technique, when a friendly Dire Avenger operative is performing the shoot action and you select a Shuriken Catapult or Twin Shuriken Catapult. The X-Arch has the Twin Shuriken. Back in the last edition, it sucked. You never took it. We could have sworn it was a typo that just never got fixed, but nope. Until the end of that action, that weapon has the Torrent 2-inch weapon rule, but you cannot select more than one secondary target. Cool, love it, good to see. Again, we have seen the new Torrent. Cool, nice. It is Torrent is now worded better. It is easier to deal damage. It's basically Blast, but you have to use the original shooter for the line of sight of the second model instead of the originator of the further attacks. So you can't shoot around a corner, basically. There you go. Rune prophecy. Once per battle, this is equipment, sorry. Once per battle, after rolling off to decide initiative, you can add D3 to or subtract D3 from your result. Once per battle, after rolling. God damn, that's good. God damn. You know, we have seen that there are some initiative changes that are heading our way. For example, so if you, from turn 2 onwards, if you don't have initiative, you get 2 CP instead of 1, which is like what you get for not getting a kill, basically. Let's be honest. So you won't always want to use this, but this is very good. And being able to subtract it from your result to give the opponent... No, why would you ever do that? That makes no sense. Because from what we've seen, you get to decide, if you win the roll, you get to decide who has initiative. You would never want to lose that roll. Okay, well, maybe you would, I don't know. Maybe you're Trixie Eldar. Dance of Death. Select 2 friendly blades of Khaine operatives, visible to and within 6 inches of each other. Remove them both of the kill zone and set them back up in each other's previous locations. In other words, swap their positions. So 2 dudes within 6, not wholly, just within, that's good to know. And you just swap them round. This is most likely going to be used when you have a guy that's gone in, he's wounded, she's wounded, whatever. You know with Eldar, you never know, right? But they've managed to survive, but on the next hit they're dead. You swap them. Or like other, but that's probably your primary use case. We get the Striking Scorpion X-Arch. It's great they show us an X-Arch. So we're APL 3, move 7, save 3, wounds 9. This is exactly what this guy was before. Looking down the list there, I'm not going to read it out, it's a bit dull. But everything here looks on par with what we would expect. The Striking Scorpion gets the attack 5s, which makes them actually good in melee, whereas everything else is attack 4s. The Mandy Blaster is still just dealing 2 damage when you perform the fight action. Interesting that they've kept this here. When the operative performs the fight action, instead of using the verbiage we saw elsewhere, which is when this operative is fighting. But that is a different thing. It's just interesting. They could have said the other one, but fine. An X-Arch, the top to perform 2 fight or 2 shoot actions during its activation. Nice. Cool. Is there anything weird with its weapon rules? Rending, ceaseless, rending, brutal. Nope, cool. Oh, ceaseless, we have now seen, in case you missed it, is no longer reroll 1s. It's reroll any of 1 number. So if you roll all 2s, you can say I reroll 2s, and then you roll all 2s. Hand of the Archon. So this is, okay, here's the truth. I'm a truther right now, okay? Hand of the Archon. I did not like them at all. I like Drukhari. As a race, in 40k, Drukhari are cool. They hydrate me. But Hand of the Archon were a big miss for me. It felt too hard to get them going. I didn't care for them. I was whelmed by them. And I played them once in a multiplayer game when I went to Canada, and I decided to never play them again. Even though I painted them in yellow, and you know I love yellow, so for me to not put them on the table after that, that tells you more than enough. Right, let's read it. Power from Pain. After a friendly Hand of the Archon operative performs an action, it gains 1 of your pain tokens if an enemy operative was injured during that action, but was not incapacitated. Okay, deal damage, but haven't killed. An enemy operative was incapacitated during that action. If that enemy operative had a wound stat of 12 or more, that friendly operative gains 2 of your... Oh, okay, so if you deal any damage at all. If you deal damage or get a kill, you get a pain token. So immediately that is good, because it used to be you had to get a kill. This is nice. I like it. After a friendly Hand of the Archon operative performs an action, it gains. Okay, so whoever gets the kill gets the pain token. That's also good to note. You can spend friendly operatives' pain tokens on invigorations when the when condition is met. You cannot use more than 1 invigoration per activation or counteraction except stimulated senses, which can be used in addition to other invigorations. So, does it tell us stimulated senses? No. Okay. So the one that is telling us is Dark Animus during the operative's activation before or after it performs an action. Until the start of the operative's next activation, add 1 to its APL stat. So this used to be, you know what? Who cares what it used to be? We don't play that edition anymore. It doesn't matter. Now you get the comms effect. Cool. Vitalized Surge. When, after the operative incapacitates an enemy operative, and that enemy operative is removed from the kill zone, the operative can immediately perform a free dash action, even if it's performed an action that prevents it from performing the dash action. Okay. Okay. So the way this works is you get that kill, right? You get that kill on a Marine. You immediately find yourself with 2 pain tokens, and you can immediately perform a dash, even if you've already dashed. There is no... You could also choose to give yourself an APL. It would work, because they've changed how APL generation works. It's no longer weird and cringe. It's now just you have an APL. So you can gain an APL in the middle of an activation. I'm not saying you should. And that would allow you to get an extra APL. You're doing a free dash, and then you could tap a point, shoot again, whatever, fight. Cool. Good. Good. It feels a little bit better. I like that you only have to deal damage now instead of kill. So that's good. Good, big vibes. Toxin coating. Up to twice per turning point, whenever a friendly Hand of the Archon operative is fighting or retaliating and you're selecting a melee weapon, you can use this rule. If you do, until the end of that sequence, that operative's melee weapon has the lethal 5-up weapon rule. So fighting or retaliating, if you're in melee, you get lethal 5 twice per turn. Cool, so this is interesting. So we're seeing the new rules in effect. We're seeing that what they want to do with equipment is just, because it's a slot, you're not giving it to a model, everybody gets it. And we've seen in the past, we've seen like some knives, and everybody gets a knife. And so we were wondering, how are they, does everyone always get everything? And this is them saying, hey, we want to give you lethal 5, but we don't want to give everybody lethal 5 for the whole game. So, yeah, cool. To balance things out, because everything is worth the same. Everything is equal. Everything is 1 slot out of 4. Everything is a course of your choice. Bam. You can only use it twice a turn. That's cool. It's cool. I'm down with it. Obviously, when you then go and buy the Hand of the Archon box, this presumably means that we will get 2 toxin coating tokens in it, and you keep that to the side. Every time you say, okay, I toxin coating, you get rid of it, and then bring it back in the ready step of the next phase. Prey on the wounded. Use this firefight ploy after rolling your attack dice for a friendly Hand of the Archon operative. If it's shooting against or fighting against a wounded enemy operative, you can reroll any of your attack dice. So it's a firefight ploy. You get to see what you roll, which is always good. I've got to be honest, I don't like having to use ploys before I know what I've rolled. They always feel like gambles. I do prefer to be able to see. If you're going to make me re-roll things, I don't like re-rolling. It's too good. But that's already a gamble, okay? The re-rolling is the gamble. Don't make the ploy itself a gamble as well. Don't make me gamble twice. Make the dice of the gamble. Never make me gamble other things. Good, I like it. Watching a cavalry Crimson Duelist. APL 2, move 7, save 4, wounds 8. Splinter, pistol. 4, 3 up, 2, 4, range 8, lethal 5. Okay, fine. I guess they're just doing lethal 5 as their 40k version of envenomed or poisoned, whatever it is. Razor Flail, Brutal Tangle. Tangle, before I read it, let me guess, they can't fall back. Let's read it. Whenever this operative is fighting or retaliating with this weapon, each of your blocks can be allocated to block 2 unresolved successes instead of 1. Is that not stun? I mean shock. Maybe shock is only crits, but this is any block is 2 blocks? No, sorry, shock is if you strike with a crit, you also discard 1. Okay, this is just the shield rule. This is a shield rule that we saw yesterday for the Arbites. Cool, Exaction Squad. Right, Brutal Display. Once per turning point, when this operative incapacitates... Brutal Display, sorry, just reminds me of when Moss is trying to fit in with footballers. Did you see that brutal display last night? Love it. Actually, I now have headcanon that Drukhari are just a bunch of IT losers trying to fit in with some. That could work. That could work. Anyway, give them all glasses. Once per turning point, when this operative incapacitates an enemy operative within its control range, you can select one other enemy operative visible to it within 6 inches of either this operative or the incapacitated enemy operative. Until the start of the next turning point, that enemy operative cannot control markers or perform the pickup marker or mission actions. So he's so shocked by the presumably reverse disemboweling fellatio you performed that they're like, whoa, I ain't touching that. You know, nice. Crimson Duelist. The first time this operative performs the fight action during each of its activations, if neither it nor the enemy operative if neither it nor the enemy operative in that sequence is incapacitated, this operative can immediately perform a free fight action afterwards, but it can only fight against that enemy operative. This takes precedence over other action restrictions, and only if it's still valid to fight against. This takes precedence over action restrictions. So this is saying you can fight twice. Cool. So again, this is perfectly lined up with what I was saying earlier about how free actions mean free of cost, not free of restriction. If it does mean free of restriction, it tells you there. In the rule, it says, hey, this is free of restriction. Good to note. Good to note. That tied together well. Well done, me. Such a pro. That's cool. Mandrakes. Right. So, as I said about the Blaze of Khaine, they are, from my recollection, identical. Let's see. So, Soul Strike. Successful defense dice are determined differently. Each result that's equal to or less than the target's APL stat is a success and is retained. Each result that is higher than the target's APL stat is a fail and is discarded. Each result of 1 is always a critical success. Yeah, so basically, if you have APL 2, that means you're saving on a 5 and a... sorry. It means you're saving on a 1 and a 2, with the 1 being a 6. But what it effectively means, if you're thinking about maths, is if you are APL 2, your save is basically a 5 up. And if you're APL 3, your save is basically a 4 up. There you go. Cool. Except you need to roll below your APL, but statistically, that's what you need to think of it as. And Umbral entities, whenever an operative is shooting a friendly Mandrake operative, ignore the piercing weapon rule. Whenever a friendly operative is within shadow, improve its save stat by 1. So if we see ignore the piercing rule, that basically, if you want to think of 40k, means you have an invuln save. But invuln saves don't exist in this game, so they just say you ignore the piercing rule. That means you always get to roll 3 of your dice. But you also get a save stat +1. They're probably a 5 up save, putting them to 4 up. You are almost always going to be within shadow, so you're basically a 4 up save. Bone darts are equipment. Let's have a look. Attack 4, hitting on 3s, damage 2/4, range 6, rending silent. This is something that you might want to drop. This might be something you don't need. Don't get me wrong, silent rending is good, but this isn't going to get around anything weird like... yeah, okay, alright. The thing is, you have really good shooting, and your shooting is really good, even though it's a normal bolter, because you have Soul Strike. This doesn't have Soul Strike. Maybe, okay, alright. It's only once per turning point. It's not every operative can now use this, so maybe one operative will want it, and you value that higher than smoke grenades, I guess. Nowhere to hide. Use this firefight ploy during a friendly Mandrake operative's activation when it performs an action in which it moves. Cool. Until the end of that activation, that operative can move through parts of terrain features as if they were not there, but must end those moves in a location it can be placed. So that means if you dash and if you reposition, you can use this. And charge. Dash, reposition, charge. We would have to read how their new kind of moving through shadows ability works. It probably doesn't affect this at all, but it might allow you to do something really tricksy where you put the way portal on one side where it's legal for you to move, and then you go through and you can go through a wall, something like that. Sounds dumb. Let's hope that's not true. Right, the APL2, move 7, save 5, wounds 9. Now the APL2, because they're not real elves, don't forget. They're not elves at all, in fact. Although they do have Eldari and Drukhari keywords, so maybe they are elves. What do I know? I don't pay any attention to lore, fluff, the rules. I'm just here. I'm just reading words, man. Bale Blast, attack 4, hit 3, 3/4, soul strike. Yep, so they're a bolter, but you get a bad save. Huskblade, 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4/6, lethal 5 shock. That's really good. The Mandrake Night Fiend is the leader, I believe. Yes, he has the leader keyword. Cool. Harrowing Whispers. Whenever your opponent would activate an enemy operative within 6 inches of this operative, you can roll 1d6. If the result is higher than that enemy operative's APL stat, they cannot activate it during this activation. If there are no other enemy operatives eligible to be activated, this rule has no effect. Whenever. Every time. Oh my god. So, if you want to have a mad one and just hope that your dice roll well, you just get this guy right, like, just within 6, but like on the other side of a wall. You know, you do your shadow step, he's on the other side of a wall, he's blocking a door, right? But he's within 6 of multiples of the enemy models, and just they might not get to activate. But activate an enemy operative within 6 of this option, you can roll 1d6. They cannot activate it during this activation. Okay, they get to try again, obviously. You wouldn't actually always want to do this because you might not want to. You might end up giving your opponent an activation advantage if you just constantly cockblock them this way. But you know what? Then you get counteract, and counteract is better than Overwatch. I sometimes feel like GW, when it comes to the Eldar teams, they're like, hey, let's not play test this. Let's just do it because it's fluffy. It's like, yeah, man. Good thinking. Let's do that. And then we have Oublier. Whenever this operative is readied, or if this operative incapacitates an enemy operative with its Huskblade, its Oublier becomes active. Whenever its Oublier is active and then attack dice will inflict damage on this operative, you can roll 1d6 on a 5-up, ignore the damage inflicted from that attack dice, and its Oublier is no longer active. Roll a d6 on 5-up. Yeah, so that's exactly what they had last time. So we're cool. We know that. All good. Not to worry. Yeah. Damn. Well, there you go. That's the Eldar, baby. Stay hydrated. Guys, question. Is it safe to drink the tap water in Menorca? Let me know. Drop a comment. Thank you very much. Bye.